Welcome to episode 53 of the Rise Fitness and Nutrition podcast. I am your host, Carlo. Today, we are talking about the importance of counting calories and what is it going to teach you in the long run. Also, I have some news. I have a website. Go visit risefitnessnutrition.com and see what I'm talking about. Happy listening. We got a little bit of a difficult topic today, that is counting calories. And why do I want to talk about that? Because there's a lot of discussion regarding it. There's a group of people that says that counting calories is completely useless, overrated, and dangerous for your mental health and for your nutrition habits. There's people that swear for the opposite, and there's people in the middle. And as much as it sounds as a cliche, I do belong a little bit in the middle and in a little bit in a group of people that says that it's absolutely fundamental for you and everybody should at least do it for a certain amount of time in their life to understand what happens when they focus on their nutrition correctly. And let me explain you why I believe this is the right thing to do. But before doing so, let's review 1 second what does it mean counting calories. There are a few approaches to counting calories, from the simplest one to the hardest one, but they all belong to the same concept. You need to know how much food you're eating every day. Now, the simplest approach doesn't really teach you a lot, and it's a little bit of the quick and dirty approach, where you exclusively eat food that is packaged in portions that tells you specifically how many calories and how many nutrients inside every portion you eat. You write it down, you track it in your macro calculator, whichever app you use, and you're done for the day. The downside of this method is that it doesn't really teach you the method of counting calories. It does teach you to look at food labels, so buying food that fit your calorie goal, but it doesn't teach you what's behind that. On the good side, it's very quick because you don't have to overthink about it. But since it doesn't teach you much, I don't think it's the best approach to start from. Yeah, well, of course, if you're in a rush, go for it. The second approach is very hard because it requires you to exclusively buy whole food, produce, and cook everything from zero every time. Now, this, on the other hand, teaches you a lot about the food that you're buying and the food that you're eating in terms of the nutrients and in terms of the calories. And it makes you appreciate a little more what's behind that. But on the other hand, it is time consuming and the learning curve might be steep because you have to start from zero to cook everything. And if you've never done it or if you are short on time, well, this definitely poses a challenge. And the third way to go about counting calories is what I prefer, and it is a mix of the two. You get some packaged food here and there, and you cook the majority of your food. This has the benefit of still teaching you what's behind the food that you eat and you cook, but it also has the benefit of saving you some time. Although, honestly, I very much think that if you're serious about your nutrition, in the long run, you should really work on food prepping your meals. And by food prepping, I mean that you take any time of the week that you have a little bit more availability and you cook bigger portions of food and then you split them in separate meals. This saves you time during the week and also helps you to be consistent with your nutrition because every meal that you prepare, you already know the calories and the macronutrients, so it's much easier to do that. It's true, at the beginning you use some time to do the food prep, but then it's much quicker during the rest of the week. And by doing so, again, you don't have to overthink, oh my god, what am I going to eat today? What am I going to prepare? So you avoid making the choices that can be poor. Say, oh, I'm too tired, I don't have time, I'll just go and get something from the fridge, from the supermarket that is ready, or maybe I just have Domino or I have fast food. Because those choices are the choices that in the long run are detrimental. So if you have your meals ready, you just open the fridge and boom, there you have it. Your food prep is there, you just have to warm it up and enjoy the meal. Anyhow, I am digressing. What does counting calorie mean for you? It means that you set yourself a goal and then you work to stick to it. At the beginning, it is hard because if you've never done it, it's a method you have to learn. But it reaps benefits. Because if your goal is fat loss and you set yourself a reasonable calorie deficit goal and you stick to it, you will see results. Now, to do calorie counting, you need a scale and you need a food tracker because you need to weight the food that you eat and you have to track it. And since you have a calorie deficit goal, and by calorie deficit I usually imply that you have a range. Say you have, I don't know, for example, 2000 calories to be in calorie deficit, but I suggest you to have a range, so plus minus 6% of 2000 calories. Even if you are in plus 6%, you still are in calorie deficit. You know what I mean? And the reason behind this is that it's difficult to be precise on the spot to eat 2000 calories precisely every day. And if you have a range, on the other hand, you have some leeway. Some days you might have a little more, some days you might have a little less, and it will average at your 2000 calories per day over the course of the week. And by doing so, it's a lot less stressful, first thing. But secondly, when you have a specific goal and you stick to it, it teaches you a lot in these terms. Everything that you eat has a different type of flavor. I'm not talking about the flavor in terms of the taste of the food, but everything you eat has a different flavor because you know the place that it has in your daily nutrition. And therefore, you kind of have to make choices that are worth it. If you're not counting, if you're not doing anything for your nutrition, you might as well have 2 donuts for breakfast because why not? But once you realize the nutrition facts and the calories and the macronutrients behind the donuts, you might realize that, okay, if you want a donut, that means that you start the day in a specific way that will require you to do some adjustments and some changes to your diet that might ultimately have you have less of the good things that are good for you. An example, say you have 2 donuts for breakfast, well then maybe for dinner you might be hungry, but you already hit your daily calorie limit, so you might simply have less food. And that might be stressful because you might be hungrier. So this means that every food choice that you make has a meaning. So you appreciate the choices that you make. If you want to start the day with 2 donuts, who am I to say no? But understand that whatever you have during the day will be counting towards the end of the day. And I don't want you to obsess over calories like, oh my god, I can't eat because it's too much. No, I just want you to be aware. Again, like that the choices you make have an impact in your diet. So maybe instead of 2 donuts for breakfast, you might only have 1 or you might only have half. And that will allow you to have more food for lunch, more food for dinner, and eventually a snack or 2 during the day. Or maybe a coffee with milk. Because, in case you didn't know, full fat milk has a lot of calories. So if you like drinking coffee with milk, you might need to either change the quantity of milk or change the type of milk or switch to Americano to be in your calorie deficit goal. And these are little choices, but they teach you a lot. And especially the days that you don't count calories because it's your break day, you really appreciate A to the Z whatever type of food that you're having, being that you are by yourself or you are with your friends. Whereas maybe before you did appreciate, but it was different because it was granted and it was fine. There was no quote-unquote limit to whatever you could have. So a little bit of restriction in some cases really helps you to understand and see everything else under a different perspective. What do I want to say with this? That if you're serious about your nutrition, or even if you want to experience what it means counting calories to see if your body can change or not, it is really a very good experiment to do for yourself. And you don't need to do that lifetime. Nobody tells you that you had to do that lifetime. But just so you know, the counting calories works if you're having trouble losing fat. Counting calories works if you have trouble gaining weight or simply stay at the same way that you are. And it will ultimately make you appreciate, from the moment you start to the moment you decide to have a break, everything that you have. And I know I'm saying this like a broken record, but I very much encourage everybody to try that, because I have heard that a million times, like my body cannot change, I have some issues, I cannot lose weight, and I'm eating super healthy. Well, if you really are serious about changing your body, whichever direction you want to have, be gain weight, stay the same, or lose fat, then you really have to go through this kind of funnel, which is counting your calories, understanding your nutrition, and getting the awareness that a simple calculation that you do daily will give you. And that's it for today's episode. I hope you found it useful and that you're gonna try this for yourself. Believe me, it's eye-opening. If you like this podcast, please share it with your family and friends or on Instagram, and you can tag me at thecarl.fit. Also, if you have the chance, a 5-star review would be super helpful. Happy rest of the week!